Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Mike Davies, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to create a loyalty card using GIMP. I'll be using GIMP version 2.10.24, which is the latest version of GIMP at the time of this tutorial. Before I get into that, don't forget to check out my website at daviesmediadesign.com. As always, I have tons of free software tutorials on here. You can check out my latest clips, and I have tons of free software help articles, so definitely check that out. You can enroll in my GIMP 2.10 Masterclass from beginner to pro photo editing on Udemy, and you can get more by becoming a DMD Premium member, and I'll include a link to this as well as all the relevant links from this tutorial in the description of the video. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with loyalty cards. That's probably why you clicked on this video, but here is an example of a loyalty card. I don't like the design of this one, but just a basic example. You've got some sort of icon indicating how many of a product you've purchased from something like a coffee shop or a cafe. And once you reach the 10th product, they usually give you something free. This one happens to not say free on it, but a lot of them do, and the one we're designing today will say free on it. So here is one version of the loyalty card I designed, and there you can see the 10th one says free. Here is another rendition where they are kind of staggered. That is another design I see pretty frequently, and this is just a rendering of what the final product will look like. So there's two things you're going to need to do in order to get this ready for print. Number one, you should choose your printer. If you're going to print it at home, that's great. You're probably going to have to test things out and make sure everything fits properly. Or you can use a printing service. In this case, I'll be using what's called moo.com. So here I am on moo.com. This is a standard business card. I like this one because it's made from old t-shirts. So if I scroll down, here we have a standard size. I have this set to square for the corners, and quantity can be whatever you want it to be. But if I scroll down a bit more, it says, how would you like to design your cards? So here it says you can use our templates, and then if you scroll down a bit more, you'll see it has a template here, and off to the right there is a little set of files you can download. So I went with the Photoshop document because GIMP can open up Photoshop documents, especially if you're using the latest version of GIMP. It's going to do a better job of handling Photoshop documents. So click on that to download it. I've already downloaded this once, but I'll download it again. So when it's finished, it'll be a little zip file. Just click the little arrow here if you're on Windows and go to Show in Folder. And then just right click on here and go to Extract All. You could choose your location where you want to extract this. Doesn't really matter. Wherever you have room, really. And so now you're going to get these folders. If you're on a Mac, go ahead and use the Mac OS X version. But here we're going to go with the other folder, and landscape is going to be, the business card is going to be longer than it is tall. So let's go with that option. So here is the Photoshop document. I'm going to right click and go to Open With. And you should see GIMP here. If you have GIMP installed, you might have to go to Choose Another App and scroll through until you find GIMP. And I'll click OK. And if you already have GIMP open like I do, you can click down here on your little GIMP icon. But now you'll see here is the business card template. And Moo gives you some information here. So this is the bleed area, which means this is just extra color area. The trim area means the machine is trying to trim this right on this line. Usually it's a little bit off. And then the safe area is where you want all of your main graphics. There's also some instructions here on how to save this so that it prints properly. But what I want to do is come over here, make sure your artwork guidelines #1 group is going to be expanded like so. Come over here to where it says safe area and click on that. So this layer is the same size as the safe area dotted line there. So what I'll do is Alt click on that, or you can hit Control A, which is going to select all. In this case, you can see it's selected a little bit of the text here. That's fine. But now what I'll do is go to Image, Guides, New Guides from Selection. And now we have guides here marking our safe area. Control-Shift-A to deselect that. So now we can collapse this and hide this group. And it says to add your design here. What I'm going to do is click on this and actually just create a new layer. And I'll name this background. Make sure it's filled with transparency and click OK. So before we start the actual design process, the last thing I need to do to set this up for print is bring in an ICC color profile. The reason for that is that GIMP is going to work only in RGB color space, so the colors aren't going to be totally accurate as we're viewing them on our screen. So I'll come back here to my browser. What I did was I typed in ICC color profile for Moo, and it brought up this page here in the search results. And as you can see, it's giving me this ICC color profile here. So I can hit Control-C to copy that. And I just searched for this once again using a search engine, and that brought up this page, which is from the International Color Consortium. So I said ICC color profile, that's what ICC stands for. And you can see some information about this, but you can download this for free. So just click the little download button here. Once again, I already have this downloaded, but I'll just save this to my downloads. So remember where you save this. Then I'll come over to GIMP, and I'm gonna go to View, Color Management, Proof Colors, and turn that on. So just click on Proof Colors. And then we're going to go back to View, Color Management, and we're going to go to Soft Proofing Profile. So probably what you guys are going to have to do is just click on this little drop down. I've already got this uploaded here, but go to Select Color Profile from Disk. And you can go over here to Recently Used. You might see the color profile there, but this is what you're looking for. If you don't see it there, come back over to your downloads, for example. You'll see here, it's already filtering this out based on ICC color profile file types. So you're going to scroll down, and here you can see your color profile below all the folders, and just click Open. So that's going to select this as your color profile for your soft proofing, and I'll hit Select. So now we can preview our colors as we draw them on here in CMYK. Now we're going to start the main design process, so let's start by adding a background. So for the background, what I did was I grabbed my gradient tool, and I'm going to change the style of the gradient here to foreground to background, and make sure this is set to hard edge, or at least that's the style I'm going for. And make sure the shape is also set to radial. And I want to draw the gradient in the center of my composition, so I'll go to Image, Guides, New Guide by percent, and I'm going to go with vertical, and make sure this is set to 50, and click OK. So now we have a nice vertical guide, and what I can do is click and drag, so from the bottom to the very top, and that's going to draw a nice gradient here. I don't like these colors right now, so what I'll do is come over and I'm going to swap out the green color. So I went with this color here. You can copy my HTML notation if you want to use the same color. And I'll click OK. I actually do like this light purple here. So if I click on that, you can copy this HTML notation as well. And you can also come over here to CMYK and see the exact CMYK color for this. So now I'll click OK. And just clicking on the gradient again, I can come over here and click and drag the stop area if I want to, but I'm happy with this, so I'll hit the Enter key, and that will apply my gradient. Next, we want to input the logo we want to place on our loyalty card. Typically, that's going to be whatever your business logo is. I do recommend you have the logo as a PNG file. If you do not have a logo yet for your business, I do have tutorials on how to design professional logos using GIMP as well as Inkscape, which is another free software. It's a vector graphic software. But in my case, over here in my document history tab, I do have this vector logo I created. I actually do have a dedicated tutorial on how I created this specific vector logo, but you can also go to File, Open, and find the logo on your computer, or Open Recent. That's basically the same as your document history. So now I'm going to just simply click on the tab here and drag it over to this tab, which is our loyalty card, and come over here and make sure I'm hovered on top of the composition and release. So obviously this is too big. What I'll do is hit Shift S on my keyboard or grab the scale tool here. And I can either click and drag the handle and drag it inwards, or come over here and just manually type in the value I want. So I've done this ahead of time, so I know this is 209. Because this little chain link is locked here or linked together, if I hit the tab key, that will automatically update the height. And now I'll come over here and hit scale. And if I hit the M key or grab my move tool over here in the toolbox, now I can click and drag my little vector logo until it snaps to that center guide, and just drag it down so that the graphic stays inside of the safe area there. We don't want that getting cut off. And because my logo was a little vector icon here, and this is a fictitious company, I'm just gonna add the rest of the logo to this real quick, which is going to be the text. So if you're just adding text to this and not a logo, you can follow along from this point. But I'll grab the text tool here, and I already know that I want my text to be the Lobster font. This is a free font. I have an entire tutorial dedicated to downloading and installing free fonts in GIMP if you're not sure how to do that. And I'll set the size of this to 90, and the color I'll set to white, and click OK. So now I'm just going to click on my composition and type mics. And let me hit Control A to select all my text. And come down here and let me just change the spacing to 0, hit the Enter key. And when your text is selected like this, you can always change the font or the size. But now I'll come over here and I'm just going to type coffee for the second line. And let me grab the move tool. I want these two to be aligned, obviously. So what I like to do is just click and hold the vector here and see where the center of that is approximately. So about right here. Let me click and drag a guide like so. And then I'm just going to click and drag the text. It'll snap to that guide. And same thing with this text here. Snap it to the guide so it's nice and centered. And then I'm just eyeballing it to make sure it is spaced evenly there. So that looks pretty good. I'll click and drag this off of the canvas. Next, we're going to create the little icons for what I'm calling the hole punches. So that's going to be where the barista is going to punch a hole in your loyalty card, indicating that you made a purchase and therefore you're on your way towards the free whatever it is, free coffee. So what I did for my loyalty card was I just used the little face icon here as the little loyalty hole punches. So I just came over here to the little dropped buffer layer and just came over and duplicated it, and then grabbed the move tool and move this down. However, if everything is on one line, let me hit Control Z and back up. So let's say your logo looks more like this. Let me just merge all these layers together. That puts the entire logo on a single layer. And let's rename this logo. Hit the Enter key. So if yours looks more like this, just come over here, duplicate the logo layer, and click and drag it down. And now come over and grab the crop tool. You're going to set this to current layer only, and make sure you're on the logo copy layer, and then just crop out the text there. So just like this, it doesn't have to be exact. We're going to double click inside of here. So once we've done that, I'll go to Layer, Crop to Content, and that's going to crop out all the excess space. And next what I'll do is come over here and I'm just going to lock the alpha channel of this logo copy layer. And then I'm going to grab the color white, so you can always reset your colors to black and white, and grab the white swatch and just drag and drop it on top of here and release. So that's going to fill in all the area here with white, which makes it a nice icon we can use. So now I'm going to hit Shift S on the keyboard because I want to scale this down. It's too large right now. And what I did was I scaled this down to about 80, hit the Tab key. You guys might need to experiment with the size of this a little bit depending on the size of your icon. But I'll hit Scale and grab the Move tool and just move this down here towards the bottom. So now what we need to do is duplicate this so that we have 10 of them, or however many you have in your loyalty program. So maybe you have 12, 15, whatever it is. So I'll just come over here to the logo copy, and let's just rename this to Icon, hit the Enter key, and let's duplicate this. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now what I'll do is come over here and just grab the rectangle select tool. And I'm going to click and drag this so that it snaps to these guides here, and drag this over so it snaps to this guide. And let's also make sure we're on a layer that is the full size of the composition. So let's just click on the background layer. That's going to make sure that the entire selection here is active. Then what I'll do is come over and grab my alignment tool. I'm going to change this to relative to selection. And now I'm just going to click and drag my mouse over the icon shape here, which will select all of the layers that are under here. And now I'll come over to Distribute, and I'm going to click Distribute Targets Evenly in the horizontal. So there you can see that's evenly distributed our icons across the selection. So if you have your icon overlapping over here or overlapping one another, you probably need to scale your icons down. So just back up, hit Control Z, until you undo all of the copies you made, and then you're going to click on the original icon copy, scale that down, and then perform this step. And if you want your design to be the staggered design like you saw over here in this version, let's come back here. So back to our work in progress composition. And what I'll do is, using the alignment tool again, I'm going to click on every other one. So just click on the second one here, and then shift click on the fourth, and then again just shift click on every other one, or whichever ones you want to be staggered. You're going to keep this set to relative to selection, and assuming that your selection's a little taller here, if not, you can always come over here, click on the selection area with your selection tool and drag this up, or if you want it smaller, drag it down. But come back, grab your alignment tool. So we're going to shift click every other one. And we're going to come up here and click align to the top of target. So that will shift these upwards. And now I'll hit Control Shift A to deselect that. And now we have the staggered look here. So next we're going to add the numbering to this. So first what I'll do is grab my text tool, and I'm going to change the font size here to 50. And we're going to come over here and just click, and we're going to create a new text box for every number. But in this case, you can see it's added the first number here right above the background layer, which means it's below the icon layer. So making sure that's my active layer, I'm going to shift click on the top arrow here, and that will move that to the very top. And now I can continue just typing my numbers. And I do have this set to black as my color. Once we've done that, we're going to click and hold the Move tool and grab the Alignment tool. And I'm going to click on the icon first and then shift click on the number. And I'll change this to relative to first item. And now I'm just going to center align this both vertically and horizontally. And I'm going to click on the second icon, shift click on the number, and just continue to do that down the line. So left click, shift click, align it. And you can see that when I hold the shift button, there's a little plus sign there above my mouse pointer. And that indicates that I am adding to the group. All right, so the 10th one here is going to say free, so let's grab the text tool. I'm going to decrease the size of this to 40 and just click on here, and with the caps lock key on, type free. And now let's come over here and grab the rotate tool, so Shift R for that. And we're just going to rotate this so it fits a little better. You can even somewhat reposition it here and then hit rotate. I'll just hit the M key to grab the Move tool and just better position this. And I can also use my arrow keys on the keyboard. And I want this one to be distinguished, this icon. So what I'll do is just scroll down here, and if you're having trouble locating which layer it is exactly, hold the Alt key and middle click with your mouse. So there you can see it's going to be this layer here. So the alpha channel is still locked from when I locked it earlier. What I'll do is come over here and click on the foreground color there, and let's click on this green color and click OK. And just drag and drop this and release. And I actually want to change the color of my lettering there for free. So let's come back up here to free, lock the alpha channel of that, and let's come over here and change this to a darker purple. So you can copy that and drag and drop this onto here. All right, so now that is purple. Just a couple of things we got to do before we export this. So now let's add our last lines of text. So let's come back here to the text tool. I'm going to change the color of this to this green color and click OK. And I'm going to put the caps lock key on, click on here, and I'm going to type loyalty and make sure the caps are on, caps lock, loyalty card. Control A to select that, turn the caps lock key off, and you can always come over here to the fonts and sort of cycle through the fonts. And I went with the Barlow Condensed for this. So there you can see Barlow Condensed Ultra Bold. And I'm also going to add some spacing here, so I'll add 25 to the letter spacing. That's a bit much, so let's go maybe 15 there. And now I'll grab the move tool, and I'm just going to move this until the little center crosshair snaps to the center guide, and just move it up a bit to give us some room. So I am going to have to move all this stuff up a little bit. So the easiest way to do that is to come over here, and we're going to shift click. There's a little invisible icon here. So shift click on that icon, and we only want to do what's called transform lock the items that are included in here. So we don't want to transform lock any of these. So that includes this item here. We do want to keep the free. We don't need the artwork. And we don't need the logo or the background or the design layer. So now if I click on any one of these layers, so right now I have the move tool selected. If I click on this once with the move tool and then use my arrow key to move these up, you'll see that will move every single one of these layers up because they are all transform lock together. I do have an entire tutorial dedicated to the transform lock feature if you want to learn more about how that works. But now what I'll do is grab the text tool, and let's scroll back up to the top here and click on loyalty card. So we're going to click down here for another text layer, and again with the caps lock key on, and I'll just type receive. So these are sort of the terms of the loyalty program. I'll hit Control A to select all the text again. Let's decrease the size of this font. Let's go with something like 20 for now. Let's also decrease the spacing to 10. And then I want to go with a thinner font. That one's a bit too thin, so let's scroll up here and go with the medium italic here. And now I'm going to grab the move tool and just move this into place. So we're going to snap it there to the center again. And let's come over here to the word free because that's one of the transform locked layers. We're going to click once on that and just use the down arrow. We can move this down a little bit more now. And I'll also reposition this. The last thing I did was I added a line to the top. So let's come over here to the top layer, click to create a new layer, and let's name this divider. Hit the enter key. I'm going to click and drag. So now we have a guide here and release. And now I'm just going to grab the rectangle select tool and draw a rectangle. Hold Control. I can zoom in with my mouse using my mouse wheel. So we'll shrink this down a bit. And then just click and drag this green color inside of the selection. And I'll hit Control Shift A to deselect that. So let's come over here to Layer, Crop to Content. And we're going to grab the Move tool and we're just going to center this now. Let's get rid of the guide there. Center this up. And let's just lower it as well. So hold Control, zoom out. So I can get rid of all the lines here by hitting Control Shift T. So that will hide the guides. So let's turn off the soft proofing. So I'll go to View, Color Management, Proof Colors. So this is RGB mode, what this looks like, and then View, Color Management, Proof Colors. Right there is more so what it'll look like once it's printed. So check to see what type of file type your printer is looking for. For Moo.com, they actually allow PDFs as well as JPEGs, so we can do either one inside of GIMP. First go to Image, Scale Image, and just make sure this is set to at least 300 pixels per inch resolution. And hit Scale if you do need to change this. And then just go to File, Export As. And you can choose the folder where you want to save this. So I'm just going to rename this. And all you got to do is add .pdf. If you want to save it as a PDF, come over here and hit Export. And then I'll hit Export. And let's go one more time for JPEG. So File, Export As. We're going to save this .jpeg. Click Export. And just turn the quality all the way up. Hit Export again. And there you go. But that's it for this tutorial. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click the bell icon to be notified each time I have a brand new tutorial. You can check out any of the links to my resources in the description of the video. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.